call the meeting to order, the committee of the whole meeting. It's my duty to inform you that we held an executive session at 6:30 this evening for the purpose of discussing student discipline. Mrs. Lazier, you have a roll call? Yes. Thank you. Mrs. Elwood? Here. Mr. House?
Here.
Mrs. Kozar? Dr. Lockwood? Here. Mrs. Maines? Here. Dr. Moffat? Mr. Music?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
And Dr. Silver?
Here.
Thank you. Solicitors report, Mr. Nichols?
No report.
Thank you very much. Committee reports, legislative report, Dr. Laughlin.
I know everybody, school board member wise, receives the legislative updates. Two that I found interesting is I hope that legislative report. One was the Senate Bill 743 that's gone to through the House and Senate and now going to the governor that would allow schools to contract with private driving training, driver's ed training. Now it's off-road only, that you can do it on-road only. Taking it forward. But not doing the theory. If they're not a certified teacher, and this would allow somebody that actually is qualified but not a certified teacher to be able to come in and do theory. And also Senate Bill 1296, which would have these superintendents and assistant superintendents contract, have all kind of rules and regulations for us, like somebody without experience, we could only have to do a 3-year contract, that we wouldn't be allowed to go back and revise contracts. And it would require the annual performance and not just allowing us to do it, but require us to do it. So I thought that was interesting that their hands are on what we'd even be allowed to do for our own contracts for our superintendents and assistants. That's all.
Thank you very much. Anything else under legislative this evening? Okay. Education and planning. We have a student to be recognized this evening, and we're happy to do that, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Mears.
Thank you, Mrs. Maines. Tonight we have with us one of our swimming athletes, Lucas Bureau. And I'll tell you a little bit about Lucas. The reason he's here is Lucas was a state champion this year in the 200 freestyle, swimming in a minute 38:33. And that's 8 laps. That's probably what I would take to get one done. But Lucas and I have had a running joke for 2 years. He stops in the athletic office at his county athletic committee, and I said this at recognition that he reminds me each time he breaks a record, because then I have to call and get the sign made and put it up on the board. After about 3 times this year, as he was breaking every record over and over, I just told him, just stop. See me at the end of the year, bring me the list, and we're going to put a big sign up. It just says, these all belong to Lucas. And so as we joke, but in all seriousness, he now has the 50 freestyle record for Greater Latrobe, the 100 freestyle, the 200 freestyle, the 100 butterfly, the 100 backstroke, the 100 breaststroke, the 200 individual medley, and he's part of the 200 relay. So he either owns or has a piece of 8 records, male records at Greater Latrobe. He's on his way to Virginia Tech to swim in the ACC, the powerful conference down there. He was a 3-time WPL champion and won both WPL titles this year in the 100 and 200 free. So, you always like to recognize excellence and hear good things. So tonight, I asked Lucas to be here, and we'd like to introduce our state champion, Lucas Bureau. Lucas asked if I wanted him to say a word or two, and I said, absolutely.
I just got to thank, all my teammates, my coaches for pushing me the past 4 years, even though I might be a, hard guy to handle. But, I'm just happy for that, and I'm very excited that I could bring another state championship back to Greater Latrobe, along with a couple WPL championships. And one thing I just wanted to say, it was pretty cool. Up in Bucknell, they have a giant, jumbotron, and just to see Greater Latrobe, PIAA champion, 200 freestyle, was very exciting, and I'm just thankful for everything I've been given here at Latrobe.
Thank you. Mrs. Swigert and Mrs. Maines are going to present your certificate from the school district.
Congratulations, Lucas. On behalf of the board, I'd like to present present you with a certificate of recognition, and we thank you very much for representing us so well and making us proud. Very nice to have you as a state champion. Good luck with everything at Virginia Tech.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The students aren't with us this evening. I'm sure they'll be here next week and we'll get the report at that time. Item number 1 in your packet is Dr. Teppert's enrollment report. Pretty typical, but I don't see anything out of line. Look it over. If you have any questions, I'm sure she'll be glad to answer them. Item number 2 in your packet, this is the minutes from the curriculum committee. I want to highlight a couple of things because they are going to be on your agenda. For the item number 5, right after this one, happens to have the GLSD summer enrichment programs that we hope that you will approve next week. World Language and Arts Camp, Theater Camp, Music Camp, and a Youth Fitness Camp. And some of those are new this year, and we're excited about them, hoping that they'll be well received. Dr. Prana, you can pitch in at any time. I'm just going to highlight. If you want to say anything else, let me know. The administration has indicated they were very happy with the AmeriCorps people. If you remember, we hired some last year, and they're very happy with them. And in fact, they want to actually employ more of them next year. They have been such a good addition. They have provided tutoring. They have worked with students at the ECAT Academy. They're going to work with some of the programs over the summer if they're approved, and they assist teacher leaders, etc. So they've been very happy with those and hope that you will approve additional ones to be hired. Item number 3 is just the professional development plan that Smartboard and Student Response System Level 2 training for elementary teachers, and Moodle and Google Docs Level 2 training for secondary teachers. The ECAT Academy has been very successful, and currently Greater Latrobe is the only school in Westmoreland County that offers a 7 through 12 program. All the other schools are 9 through 12. So kudos to that. Plus, they're looking into an elementary program through Lincoln Learning. So hopefully on your agenda in May, you may be asked to approve a contract with Lincoln Learning to do the elementary online. That has been. We've also seen a decrease in cyber school costs, which I think is a wonderful thing because of the ECAT Academy. So I think it has been very successful. We talked about the new teacher evaluation implementation and training. We are doing some of that this year as a pilot program, and we looked it over and we all thought it was a very, very good evaluation. The only thing is it's going to take tons of time, just tons of time from administration. There's a pre-conference, and then there's an observation, and then a post-conference, and then supplemental walkthroughs, etc. So one evaluation is just going to take hours and hours of administrative time, and I think that's a big concern. And I think other districts, Mrs. Swigert indicated, also have concerns, and they're trying to address some of that. We did think it was very comprehensive and a very good program, but just the time process was, I think, going to be almost too much. New teacher professional development. They have developed some new courses for our new teachers for their development, and they are listed for you under item number 6. Dr. Soltis had a handout, and she is building life skills courses with autistic students. Am I right, Dr. Soltis?
It's on the agenda.
Pardon me?
It's on today's agenda.
It will be on tonight's agenda. And let's see, Title I transition activity. Title I and transition activities will be on your April or May agenda. And we're looking at a Title I parent workshop, kindergarten transition activities, and then intermediate Unit 1 non-public services agreement is also on tonight. Elementary, we're developing a new elementary core mathematics program, and that hopefully will be on your May agenda for your approval. We're going to hear about that next week. We haven't been given too many details, so, but we will have another education committee meeting next week and hear about that program. We have some capstone landowner agreements to be approved on your April agenda, and new secondary courses and or textbooks are listed there for you, and those will be approved. It says March. When will we do that?
We will do the ones that have to be approved, essentially, is at this point, just the trigonometry. The other ones are existing textbooks where we're purchasing additional.
Okay.
That would be on May.
Okay. And did I miss anything?
No, you did an excellent job.
Nothing you'd like to add?
Well, a couple of places. The IU1 non-public service agreement, we do a consultation with the Diocese of Greensburg. They currently provide those services for us to our students at CDT and other parochial schools. All parties are happy. If you remember a few years back, we had another company that provided those services, but the administrative fees were at 14% and these ones are at 3%. Those fees will stay the same. One of the things about the summer enrichment program, please note that there will be a fee for students attending those programs to offset costs, so they will be revenue, at the minimum, revenue neutral. They will not be a cost to the district. And there are things built in to assure that students from homes that are, where economically there may be need, that we can provide them the same opportunity. That being said, I think that Mrs. Maines did an absolutely terrific job. We're ready to go.
Okay. So if you move to item 5 under education and planning, you'll see that on your agenda next week will be the summer enrichment programs for your approval. You wish to comment on any of those? No?
No. I want to commend our Mrs. Golden and our teacher leaders for their work for those programs and planning those programs, and to begin thinking outside of the box in terms of ways to enrich students and provide enrichment for students based on their interests.
And item number 6 is the permission to apply for the AmeriCorps grants that I talked about. Do you wish to say anything about that?
One of the things, if you look at the AmeriCorps, each AmeriCorps member costs the district $7,200. That's our contribution toward their salary and benefit and tuition. But when you look at it, they provide a terrific service to our students, and I think that's important.
I thought they were used in very, very good ways also. I really was really happy with what they were doing with them. And item number 7 is permission to apply for 2012-2013 federal funds. That's a yearly thing. Anything there?
That is yearly. I was out in Hershey last week at the federal programs meetings. They generally would provide us our allocation at that point in time. Once again, they did not because of the federal budget issues. However, they're indicating that we can expect somewhere between 2 to 3% in terms of an increase in terms of federal money. But there's more to come in that area later. So, but at this point, nothing new.
And number 8, we talked about the IU1 non-public service agreement. Anything else there? No. And the capstone landowner agreements. Dr. Crane, do you want to address that a little bit?
As you know, the STREAM project with Capstone and Environmental Science is ongoing and continues. The landowner agreements that we have, the existing ones are still in place, but as we move forward, of course, we're touching more properties. We're still working with Ned and the property owners to finalize those agreements, but they will be ready for next week. So, but it's a continuation of the same Capstone environmental program with the STREAM down around Rotary Park.
Thank you. Also on your agenda next week will be a tuition student from Lanier Valley. And item number 11 is the renewal of the Westmoreland County Student Assistance Program for 2012-2013. We do that each year. Do you wish to comment on anything, Dr. Silver?
It's the program that serves the student assistance program. We have a liaison that's provided, to support our SAP program. It's through the county, and it also supports our drug and alcohol prevention programs. And it's a yearly thing, and I would hope that the board would support that.
That will be an agenda item also for next week. Item number 12 is a letter of agreement between Latrobe Hospital Behavioral Health and GMSD for the provision of behavioral health treatment services for the 2012-2013 school year for grades K through 6.
Right. The Excel Health has served our elementary schools with a school-based mental health program. In the past, for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a fee attached to that. And this year, the Excel Health has waived the fee coming up halfway through this school year. They waived the fee, and then for next year, they're not asking for a payment. So I would support that we continue with Excel Health for school-based mental health at the elementary level.
Thank you. And that will be also an agenda item next week for your approval. And we will also be asked to approve the opening of an autistic support program in the junior high school.
I'd like to speak about this, yeah. In the fall, one of my goals was to do some needs assessments about the kind of programs that we might need for special education students. The most successful was the program for the junior high schools for serving children with autism. As a result of a survey they sent to parents whose students were being served outside the district, we have commitments for 4 students to return from the NHS school for autism. We have a student coming back from a Harvest Christian Academy that's closing, who would have needed to attend an autistic support classroom outside the district, but that parent is thrilled to have the opportunity for her child to go to public school. We have a student who would be contracted from another school district, and 2 students transitioning from elementary classrooms to the full-time support classrooms. I can serve 8 students in an autistic support classroom, and currently I have 8 students lined up for the classroom. So before we would even open, we would be full. Based on the cost to the district for placements at the other schools versus the cost of staff hiring, we would need a full-time special education teacher and 2 classroom assistants. There will be a savings to the district of roughly $30,000. And again, we're building capacity to serve students in our own district with the opportunity of those children being able to participate in extracurricular activities, being able to attend, join the choir, participate in track, that sort of thing that they would not have an opportunity to do otherwise. I feel it serves children well, and I hope the board will support this.
Sure.
I'd like to just commend Dr. Soltis. A few years back when we had a special education audit, one of the things that we needed to improve upon was offering services within the school district for special needs students. This is a clear example of doing this, and we believe that we can offer superior programs to these students who will be housed here, attending Greater Latrobe Junior High School. And kudos to Dr. Soltis, because it is not an easy venture.
I will say that the parents sometimes will say, no, I want my child to go to Clairview School. And I say, just meet me at the junior high school, let me show you what we have to offer. And by the time we're finished with our tour, they're thrilled and excited about their child coming to the junior high school. So a lot of credit goes to the teachers at the junior high school and the staff there.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That ends my report. We'll move to finance with Mrs. Upper.
Thank you. We will have a treasurer's report and payment of bills on the agenda next week as usual. And item 5 in your packet is the budgetary transfers, which are all self-explanatory. And item number 6 is the finance committee meeting. And I'd like to draw your attention to the paragraph that's headed projected fund balance utilization. Last year when we were discussing and finally passing the budget, there was a great deal of discussion about the fund balance and what we needed and what we weren't using it for and how we shouldn't have it, etc. Well, this is a time when there are deferred costs in the area of technology. There are new needs in the area of textbook and curriculum purchases. And we've already adopted a bond issue, which the issuance costs are being paid for, or will be paid for out of the fund balance. And I think you can see that although the fund balance will be diminished, it will be extremely diminished. And this is a time when we are able to do things that the district needs and use the fund balance to do them without raising taxes and without deferring any further the things that we need. So that is something to watch for all of the board as we proceed with the budget, and you'll see how that impacts the fund balance. You will see that the next meeting date is May 2nd at 10 in the administration building. Thank you. That's all we have on that one. And then we have Race to the Top, and I understand that's Dr. Trano.
Race to the Top has some different connotations. However, Pennsylvania was granted or awarded from the Department of Education the Race to the Top grant. A portion of that is being allocated to various school districts to help support the implementation of the new Pennsylvania teacher evaluation model. And so, as we talked about that earlier, it is cumbersome, very thorough, but it also will be taxing on man hours and also in terms of a paradigm shift among the staff. So Greater Latrobe has been awarded $20,523 to support that implementation. That can go toward things such as professional services or professional development, the development of additional measures along those lines, equipment and technology, and also licenses for software and so forth to support that. And so our recommendation is obviously to accept that money to assist us with that, even though we know in the long run it probably will cost us that and then some, but if we accept that to offset those initial costs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elder. Property and supply, Mrs. Kozar is not with us this evening. Mr. Music, would you like to take that since you're a member of the committee?
Wasn't prepared, but.
That's okay.
We met on April 4th, and we discussed the capital projects update. Ken discussed his meetings with the building principals about some capital projects that he'd like to see or that we'd like to do. We reviewed the capital projects and discussed that the primary focus will be the projects with the safety ramifications for the students and the faculty. Ken also discussed that the senior high school chillers need to be tested. They were last tested in 2008. They should be tested every 3 to 4 years, and he suggested that we do this. The cost of the testing the chillers would be $3,544. Ken, if you have anything to add, please jump in here at any time.
That's good.
Mountain View Elementary School, we discussed the recycling program. Right now, Mountain View Elementary School is trying to start a recycling program similar to what we have at the junior and senior high school right now. The recycling program will have no cost to the district. And we also discussed the outdoor entrance sign. The Mountain View PTO is working to have designed and installed a new outdoor entrance sign. And our next meeting will be May 3rd at 3:30.
Thank you very much.
You may remember that this outdoor sign at Mountain View, there were plans brought before and nothing, we kind of just not got taken care of, and so I think they're looking at other ways to fund that and take care of it. I think it may be a nice nice way of completing that project using the VOTEC.
Thank you. Mr. Music, would you like to do the rest of the property supply agenda? That's okay.
We also Hank Tackett from Access Architect, I believe, is here tonight. And there he is.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I believe you all have a copy of my report in your packet, so I will briefly go over some of the highlights on the report. Right now, the project is continuing on schedule, although the schedule remains to be pretty aggressive. We are continuing with that aggressive schedule and are still slated to finish with construction sometime mid-fall of 2013. The schematic design is complete at this point. There are some sketches in my report that goes over some of the things that we've done to date with the project. We've started to get into design development. We're continuing to have meetings with the administration and faculty on the design. I'm actually meeting with all of the coaches tomorrow from about 9:30 to 1 o'clock separately to go over the plans with them and get their input. The survey is still in progress. It's currently scheduled to be completed the week of April 26th. They called me late in the day today and are telling me possibly a week earlier than that. I have received a preliminary survey that I got last week, and that has allowed me to continue working because the main thing that I was looking for were the property lines and contours on the site, and the preliminary had that. And with that, there weren't any surprises. It's still, the items that we've talked about putting still seem to go fit where we've talked about putting them. The amount of dirt that needed to be moved does not seem to be substantially more or less than what we had talked about. So things are moving along well with that. The geotechnical report is going to have to be hopefully approved at next week's meeting. We've sent out requests for proposals for 3 different geotechnical engineers to get this report. We had to wait until we had at least a preliminary survey to do that so that they could locate the test boring locations. And we had to have schematic design completed so that they would know where we were putting, approximately where we were putting the items so that they would know where to drill the holes. So that is all going well. Hopefully we'll have those proposals back by the end of the week and we can get them in front of you for next week. The animated computer rendering can now, we're far enough along in the process that I can start talking with those people and get that underway. So I've scheduled a meeting for this Friday to go over what we have so far and get a schedule from them and a firm number on that portion of the work. So in general, things are moving along pretty rapidly, but we are maintaining that aggressive schedule we talked about. Hopefully we can continue along those lines and there won't be any surprises. Any questions?
What was the hold up on the survey?
I believe the company doing it did not realize how involved it was going to be. We gave them the information, we told them what they wanted, but I think until you're actually out here looking at it,
It wasn't a technical issue.
it's not technical. It's just the amount of detail that we requested has taken some time. They did the flying and they did the topography and all of that stuff relatively quickly, but it's the on-site person holding the stick here telling us how high this catch basin is and where the injury is. I think there's a lot of them.
That's what everyone said.
Anything else?
Can we discuss this tonight?
Sure.
Student restroom facilities on the first floor.
Yes.
And on one side and on the other. This is for public access?
Yes. For part of the when there are events in the campus stadium field at the bleachers, they would be open to the public for that. They would also be open for tennis events and for baseball and softball and soccer events on the other field. So that was the plan with that.
Do they, maybe a silly question, do they dictate how many toilet facilities per people like they do with parking spaces?
Yes, absolutely. And what we've talked about doing here is, if you're talking about a 2,000 seat bleacher, the amount of restrooms are substantially larger than what we're showing there. But what we can do is we can allow the facilities on campus. That we can count the restrooms in the high school building if we allow the high school building to be open for that. And so when we have the 1 or 2 times a year where you have a large event, like say graduation, if you would have graduation in there or something, where the stadium would be full, you would open and have more capacity for restrooms. But for the day-to-day events where there wouldn't be as many people in there, it's designed to adequately.
So basically, you're saying we're actually under the train with the 2,000 seat stadium with this number, because we're counting the ones in the. It just seemed like a lot of bathrooms.
We're actually under, yes. We're substantially under. It
So we're
looks
under.
like a lot of bathrooms, but we are substantially
That's
under.
what I wanted to know.
Yes. If we put the amount that that they're looking for, it would look like the tail wagging the
So
dog.
we're under that equation.
Yes.
That's fine.
Never heard that term under the train.
I had a term along those lines.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
And items 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be agenda items.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Student activities and recreation, Dr. Laughlin.
Item number 8 is the Latrobe Union Park Recreation Meeting minutes, which you can read, and number 9 is the athletic committee.
Okay. Thank you. Community relations, Dr. Zach.
Heard, Paul.
Thank you. Intermediate unit liaison, that's me. Item number 10 in your packet is the summary of the board meeting from 3/27. And I believe that's all I have. If you read that, any questions, let me know. Mrs. Kozar is not here this evening. Would you take that, Mrs. Elder?
Yes, the first item on the agenda will be approval of the budget from EWCPC. And I believe that all the board members were given copies of the budget. And the articles of agreement for the school require the JOC to send the budget to the sending school boards, and then the budget must be approved by a majority of the 3 sending school districts, so it requires 14 yes votes for approval. And in your packet, there's item number 11, is a report of the JOC action at the last meeting.
Thank you. Board policy, PSBA liaison.
Yes, the board policy, the only thing I'd like to note is that there will be a policy meeting on Monday afternoon at the administration building. And as usual, the administration has some questions that need to be cleaned up about policy. And we also have hired PSBA to redo the policy, and they've given us a whole packet of changes that have to be made to stay current with legislation.
Thank you. Transportation, Dr. Moffat.
Thank you. The agenda next week will be voting to approve the TransFinder browser software. Call your attention to the minutes as item number 12 in your packet. We had a very interesting discussion at the transportation meeting inside the buses. Advertising inside the school buses as opposed to outside. And the kinds of dollars that could be generated from the district. We talked about looking into that, talked about the possibilities of other forms of advertising to generate dollars. It was a very interesting discussion, and I think there'll be more to come on that. And the next transportation, there's a lot of good things that happen in transportation. I'm telling you. Next transportation meeting will be on April 25th, 4 p.m. In the Athletic Office. Transportation.
Thank you very much. Technology, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you. As you may recall from past meetings, we've been talking, administration and us have been talking about the bring your own device to school activity. We've been pursuing a plan to get that implemented at the next board meeting. But not being technical enough to explain it, Rob could be my commentator today and describe what we're going to do. So.
Yeah. It's the last item in your packet, and I'll just move up to the microphone so I can make sure you can all hear me. What we're talking about is a plan to transition for our senior high students. Is that all?
Yeah.
To transition to a BYOD environment for our senior high students. And I use the term transition because we're kind of in a unique situation with our one-to-one laptop initiative that we have at our senior high school. Most schools do not have the luxury of having had a program like that, and so they can just open up to a BYOD. And I think we're a little bit unique in which we've provided for the past 14 years, it has been that long, laptops to our incoming sophomores at a very, very reasonable cost. So historically, we started this program back in the late 90s in our junior high school. For those of you that recall, for those of you that are new, I'll just give you a little bit of history. We started this program with the purple study pros. I think Dr. Ferrano remembers those, and I know Mr. Kremko remembers those because they were teachers at the junior high at the time. And they were tabbed indestructible and sold like that to our kids as indestructible. And of course, the kids did everything they could to prove us wrong on that. That program lasted at our junior high school for about 3 years. And then we migrated it into the senior high school where we just kind of saw that it was a better fit. And of course, over the 14 years, we have changed the program and worked it. And it's been a great program, and it has worked very, very well for us. But if you think about 14 years ago when you were handing a kid a laptop and what you were providing them that they didn't have access to, and you look at the way things have changed in 14 years and what they now have access to, it has really changed tremendously. And just to give you a little point of reference, I've been involved with the laptop program almost since its inception here. And I can remember when we started handing these laptops out to kids, they were so excited. They could not wait. I mean, this is something that pretty much no family had. They might have had computers, desktops, but they really didn't have laptops. These were the first portable device that existed. And now, fast forward 14 years, when we do our distribution, do I have to carry this thing around? Do I have to bring it back and forth every day? It's heavy, it's big. So we've had quite a change when kids can pull a phone out of their pocket and basically get the same level of access and the same functionality they get from a laptop. So that's one thing that's changed dramatically. The second thing that's changed dramatically is we have developed this program at our senior high school, and it has worked very well, but it has created inequities in our elementary and our junior high school. And we have elementary students who are working on 8-year-old laptops. So we talked about how can we bring in a BYOD environment where we've always provided this access. So we kind of talked about a plan that we could use to kind of transition into it. So that's the sheet that I referenced as the last sheet in the handout, and I'll talk about what we're looking at. And the committee has kind of gone full circle, and we've talked about a lot of different things with this, and there's reasonings behind each of these items that we chose. So we thought we would keep the seniors and juniors in the existing program that we are, because we lease our laptops each year when we provide them to our sophomores. So the sophomores obviously are the you know, the point to start. So juniors and seniors will keep with their existing laptops that have been leased, and will continue to ask for a $50 technology service fee, which is what we ask for the students to help supplement the cost. Or we'll give them the option to BYOD. Sophomores is where we'll begin a new plan. And the first option we'll give them is the same as the seniors and juniors, and that is to bring their own device. I've had more requests from families this year to ask if they could bring their own devices to school and use them than I have any other year. So I definitely see that being a trend where students have equipment and they have devices that they want to use. The second option that we're going to offer the students is sort of like what we've always done. It's providing them with the use of a district laptop, but instead of charging the $50 user fee, we'll charge them a $125 fee. It will be a brand new laptop, and we obviously will provide the support for that. Students qualifying for free and reduced lunch will receive consideration based upon that. And we'll also make accommodations for families that may have multiple students paying the $125, and they'll pay that for the first student and then $75 for each additional. The lease to own is a different option we're going to provide. That's the third one, in which students can pay a little bit of a higher technology fee to supplement the cost, but actually would pay for the laptop over the course of 3 years and then own it with a $50 final payout. And the reason we chose to structure it this way is because we do see this as a transition. We really don't want to be in the laptop resale business, but we feel like we kind of have to have a transition to take out of the plan, to kind of move out of our existing plan into ultimately what we see is what all students are probably going to choose, which is the BYOD. We've gone through a number of laptop choices. Of course, I've evaluated a number of laptop choices, and we have 2 choices that we've settled on as fairly standard, solid choices for students. The first one is a Lenovo ThinkPad X130E. It's specifically an EDU model, so it has a lot of kid-friendly options with it, and it's a little bit of a bigger screen than the traditional netbooks we've been buying. And then choice 2 is a similar laptop. It doesn't have as much of the kid-friendly features, but it has a little bit of a larger screen, and the specs on it are a little bit higher. The models we've chosen are business class model machines. The prices include 3-year ADP warranty, and because of the models of laptop we chose and the partnership with our tech support company, we will be able to provide them on-site support and maintenance. So it will be a bonus for the parents to be able to say that if they would go this route, their students could bring their laptop down to us for servicing. And then, of course, we would want to retain ownership of that laptop until final payment is made. So that's basically what we've outlined. I don't know, Bill, if I've missed anything or anything.
I don't think so. I think that part of it is we're trying to get out of the doorstops that we're carrying right now that are, they're cumbersome, they're hard to use, and we need to start moving them down into the lower grades. We need to start moving some of them down. without going into too much cost. This way, we're offsetting some costs. We're also making the student have a little bit more responsibility as far as carrying the machine, taking care of the machines. It's there. They know it's there at the end of the day. But I think the key factor is that, you know, if a parent goes out and there's a kid, you know, probably there's very few children around that don't have a laptop in their possession right now, whether they have a new one or an old one, or they at least have one at home at this point. But for $200 a year, they're getting a Class A machine. And the biggest benefit, I think, the whole thing, though, is that we're paying and we're going to support the machines. We're going to take care of the tech support for them. But on top of this, the second part, the second line on our technology infrastructure updates is what we have to do to support the machines themselves. So I'll let you explain that too if you have any more questions about the laptops.
Right, and that's one of the things that I did want to mention also, I'm glad you brought that up, is in setting up for a BYOD, there's a lot involved with it, and part of it is putting your infrastructure in place so that you can support the connection of devices. And that's part of the reason that we're looking at doing the wireless upgrade, because not only do you have to have the ability to allow these machines to connect, but to be able to identify them, to be able to secure them, to be able to offer them the filtered internet, and to be able to protect the system that you currently have, and the secureness that you have with that. So that kind of goes hand in hand. We've been working through last year doing the server virtualization along with moving into the desktop virtualization, and then all kind of falls into you know, play with setting up an environment so that we can allow students to bring their devices in and be able to securely access. And part of it too is being able to provide our students with access 24/7 and not locking them into our resources that we have here. And that's, again, something we're going to build into, but being able to provide them 24/7 access to resources.
Let's discuss this item number 6, the Finance Committee report. $2.
Yeah. You mentioned cell phones. Are we going to allow students to use, say, smartphones throughout the day?
You know, that's something we've gone back and forth on. We've talked about maybe limiting the types of devices, and I've read a number of articles recently saying that that's probably the #1 growing mobile device of all time. And a couple rationale and reasoning they give for it is that there are more lower socioeconomic students with access to internet through their cell phones than there are higher socioeconomic students, so I think that's really important. Also, that a statistic I read recently in regards to cell phone use is that about 74% of teens report having high-speed internet access in their home, but 93% report being able to access the internet through their cell phone. So I do think that's going to be a key, you know, discussion. I don't know that students are going to be able to type papers on their cell phones, but I think the capabilities of cell phones are growing so tremendously that I do think there could be value. I know one of the things right off the bat is they can be used as a student response system, and that's one thing that we've talked about trying to populate all of our rooms with, and a cell phone device can simply gain that access to allow a teacher to use anybody that has a cell phone as a student response system. One of the things I would probably see limiting more than the type of device is how many devices we allow students to have. That's going to be a key feature moving forward, because on these systems and the design we're talking about with wireless infrastructure, a lot of the capacity is not necessarily built on the types of devices that are accessing, but the amount of devices that you have accessing. And if you start talking about people bringing laptops, cell phones, tablets, you can get up to a lot of devices quickly. So I would think we would probably limit that before we would limit maybe the type of device. And a lot of it's going to be driven too, I think, in the instructional use of it.
I just worry about abuse of cell phones. I mean, once you allow them out, how do you control what they're doing with them? It's a good question. I guess you're going to have to address that in the policy.
Yeah.
And the next meeting is
Well, we had originally set it for May 2nd, because that's our regular monthly term. But one of the things we talked about moving forward with this is setting up a parent information session. And tentatively, I have that scheduled for May 7th. And I'm gonna do an all-day kind of open house from 8 to 8, but then have 4 specific presentation times that the parents could come in to work around their various schedules if this is the direction that we're going to move. And I know the committee had requested possibly holding off on that meeting until after those parent meetings, so we could kind of gauge the feedback that we were getting.
I skipped over CAD lab replacement. We had talked about the CAD.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the items that come up. We had talked about the replacement of the desktops in our CAD lab because they're high-end functioning machines that require a lot of high-end hardware. And we had looked at various alternatives to having to replace that equipment, but none of them are really going to be viable or work for us. And I know Dr. Prana had attested to the importance of the Autodesk software and its use. And so I did put that in the budget to have those machines replaced.
What kind of budget changes are we talking about with this program? I know we spend almost $1 million a year now on this system, right?
What Dan and I worked out is worst case scenario, if every student chose option 2, which would be us supplying the laptop and them supplementing with the $125 fee, that would essentially pay for half the laptop cost. So it would essentially cut our laptop program cost in half. And our average spent on leasing over the last, 10 years we projected out was about $500,000.
It's around $500,000 a year.
So it would cut it to around 2 something we figured. So that's worst case scenario. That's if nobody did a BYOD and nobody chose option 3 and everybody just chose option 2. I mean, ultimately our goal would be to push them into a BYOD. I think we'll get there. I just think we kind of need a transition or a stepping point for the kids that aren't used to it.
And how much are kids paying now?
They're paying $50.
$50 a year.
I think that one of the points of reference is Robin started her report with talking about 14 years ago. And I think if we were sitting back here 14 years ago, there would have been some questions that were asked that we didn't have answers to. Moving forward with the BYOD, which is ultimately the goal as far as especially the secondary, the high school situation, I think there are questions that we're going to have along the way that we don't have answers to right now. We are projecting, and Robin has done an excellent job in trying to think ahead as to the types of concerns and problems that are going to come up as we move down this road. But we know there are going to be things that we didn't think of that somebody's going to ask and we're going to have to determine as we move along. Secondly, the policy committee is going to need to look at our technology policy as we move forward with this, because obviously with a BYOD environment, as much as we know students have brought cell phones and they bring them on a daily basis, we still don't recognize them. And we know they're here on a daily basis and used on a daily basis. So this is truly a new environment for us. As I understand, it's pretty new for most districts across the state. This is not something that a lot of districts have done, but we believe because of our technology background 14 years ago and having a one-to-one program for so long, this is a natural step for us. But it raises issues that other districts don't have because of having a one-to-one program. So it truly is one that we're going to move along in kind of baby steps. The initial meeting with sophomore parents of next year's sophomores will be on May 7th. We're going to give lots of options as far as meeting with them and discussing the process. Obviously, as we move down here this road, we need to have some idea of numbers that we need for each of these because of ordering and so on for next August. So a lot more to come on this proposal.
Is this price for buying a laptop, is that a deal? I mean, what would it cost me to go to Best Buy and buy that
I
myself?
asked that same question.
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, you couldn't go to Best Buy and buy this laptop. This is called a business class model. The laptop, the type of laptop you would buy at Best Buy would be a consumer grade. So it would be a much lower spec machine and grade of quality than a machine like this would be. You could probably go to Best Buy and buy a cheaper laptop, but number one, it is probably going to be a less quality, and number two, you're not going to get the support and service here that you would get with one of these machines.
But just as a question as a parent,
Yeah,
if I would buy a laptop from you,
right.
how much would I spend if I went and bought one from Best Buy?
You know what? I'll spec out a laptop at Best Buy with these same specs, and I'll find out for you. I would think you're at least $500–600 at a minimum. I would think.
So it's a wash.
Yeah.
You're getting a better machine.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's more important that you're not paying for the support.
Right. What about your
That-
3-year
the
warranty?
machine's one
Jeff?
piece.
Don't-
Well, if you pay for
Right.
Geek Squad, you get the support.
So you don't keep it here, it's free.
I think the smaller, the first item, and we tried to have it here this evening to show all of you, and we were unable to have it. It's what they call kid-friendly. It has a spill-proof, which I think
Yeah.
is, having been one who has spilled things before. The spill-proof keyboard, it has rubber edges on it. It really is designed for student use and for throwing it around, so to speak.
But we won't tell the kids.
We won't tell them.
I
But they are slightly.
frankly think this is smart, because, you know, when we first did, I was on the board when we did this. It cost us almost $2.5 million.
Did it really?
I mean, it was expensive. I mean, when we bought those laptops, it was at least $2 million to do that. And we went into that, as I recall, with the idea that nobody had a computer, nobody knew what they were, so we were providing everybody with the same thing. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
Now, we have to be realistic and know that that's not the case anymore. People have things, they want things, they buy things. And, you know, with budgetary restrictions and what we're forced to do, now we're going to support what we have, but provide a service that is enhancing kids going out into the future, because everybody uses a computer for everything anymore. I don't care what you do. Everything's on a freaking computer, which makes me sick, but I'm telling you it's there. Yeah, it's time to me at work, and I can't stand it, but it's there. And we have to learn how to do it. So this is a part of education. This is part of the real world now, and we're doing it, but we're doing it in a way that is smarter for us as a school district. You hate to see anybody pay money for a service. I mean, I understand that, and I understand some people will complain about it. You're making my kid have a computer, but you're making me pay for it. What are you doing that for? But, you know, you have to understand, we put all these wires in the ceiling for the Wi-Fi, you put all the wires in the ceiling for this thing. The software is there, the expertise is there. You're using it in a way that's enhancing the kids' education. So, yes, it's part of our education process. Is it worth the extra money? I believe it is. But that's where we are going to start this. I think for us to be able to do this now and not cost our school district $500,000, and still have a good program, I think it makes sense. And I think we should support this and move forward. But I think we have to sell it to our consumers. And if you can do it the right way and provide a good service, then $125 a year extra isn't that much more to spend. Of course, we could just increase taxes to pay for it and ask everybody to pay for it that way by raising the millage, but we know how that happens. I mean, that won't fail. We could do that if we wanted to pay for it.
We can give you an update that off of Dr. Brino's cell phone, which has internet access. The spec machine is $749.
That's actually a lower grade than what we're getting.
So actually getting a nicer machine for cheaper by buying through the school. So,
That's
so
all.
I mean, here we go. So that's my 2 cents.
And I think that we need to make sure that everybody, all the parents of incoming sophomores, get the thing about come and look. The machine will be here that day. They'll get to understand. And for people who have more than one kid, say you've got an incoming sophomore and an incoming 7th grader and an incoming 5th grader, you know, the machine's gonna get old, but it will be available for everybody, and you know, it's a good deal all the way down the line.
And definitely be ready if you're gonna restrict anything, just as a parent of an incoming sophomore, the first question my husband's gonna have is, what can I go buy that's burger BYOD? So if there's gonna be any restrictions on you are not gonna be allowed this, the parents are gonna need to know that at that meeting.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Superintendent's recommendations.
On the bottom of page 4 of your agenda, we have 3 retirements that we have received at this point that we would ask the board to vote on next week. The closing of the retirement incentive is the end of this week. If we have any additional names, they will be added. But at this point, they are Daniel Grove, Linda Billett, and Susan Price as listed. On the top of page 5, we have 2 resignations, both with girls volleyball, Jennifer Feartag and Drew Vasevsky. I think I said that correctly. Mrs. Feartag has been the volleyball coach for quite a few years. Her daughter graduated last year, and she gave us 1 more year by Mr. Mears begging her to stay, but she has decided to resign this year, and her assistant is as well. If we have any substitutes that we can add next week, we will put them on the agenda. That is a process, as well as the personnel appointments. We have 2 cheerleading coach positions that we would ask that they be filled next week. Rachel Sergi as the head cheerleading coach and Sarah Frederick as the assistant cheerleading coach. As far as other items, there are senior nights coming up for the spring sports, girls lacrosse, and boys volleyball, all listed there. If you're able to attend, we invite you to be there to recognize the students. As well as other business, our meetings that are coming up. There is not a change, but there is a week between our 2 meetings in May. Just note that on your calendars that the first meeting in May is May 8th, and the second one is May 22nd. There is a week there with no meetings. And the Breakfast of Champions is next Thursday here at the high school at 7:15.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind the board about your superintendent evaluations that you were given last month. If you could get those in ASAP, and I think Connie provided a stamped envelope for you, so if you could mail them in, or at the very latest, bring them with you next week. Okay, please mark that down so everybody remembers. Anything else this evening? Yes.
Just real quickly, I did find out softball senior day will be May 4th, Friday, at 3:30 at Rotary Park. And believe it or not, the track is tomorrow, the stadium at 4:30.
What did you say?
Track tomorrow.
Tracks tomorrow.
And we realized that, Coach Williams realized that because they do all their meets now as like double duels, that's the only home meet they have now with just 1 team. So they will do track tomorrow.
And hang on, have a field ready, man.
Good to go, right? I'm looking to hang for like April. We might want to save this prep for next year.
You promised!
Yeah, you said.
Anything else? We are adjourned, and I thank you for your time.
Thanks.